Well, let's go for a dose of common sense. And the one man we turn to on that front is the One Nation leader in the New South Wales Parliament, Mark Latham. And he joins me. Mark, thank you for your time. We'll talk a bit of common sense in the world of sport in a moment. But you and I, almost alone, if we're not pumping up our own tyres, have campaigned against the appalling deterioration of education in our classrooms. And now we learn that a review of 10 million NAPLAN samples of writing of years 3 to 9, that's 8-year-olds up to 15-year-olds, analysed by the government-funded Australian Education Research Organisation, has found standards declined significantly in every key area, but spelling. I tell you what, I would have included spelling as well. Mark, yet again, I ask in vain, what is being done about these clear empirical figures?
Well, not enough, Alan. The system's going backwards in terms of sentence structure, grammar, punctuation. Students in years 7 and 9 are years behind where they should be. They're not getting a full day of learning for a full day of education. And this is a problem that starts in our primary schools. Years ago, they started to drop off the proper teaching of grammar, punctuation, sentence structure, and we're paying the price for that. Unfortunately, I was talking to a parliamentarian earlier today about it. Unfortunately, writing, the civilisational skill of writing and expressing ourselves is being lost in our school system. So they've got to go back to basics. They've got to get the phonics right, the synthetic phonics right, in kindergarten, years 1 and 2, developing literacy skills, and then they've got to move them into the proper understanding of grammar and all the things that make for beautiful writing. They've got to study Dickens. They've got to read Orwell.
I know.
They've got to be looking at the classics of our civilization in terms of literature, instead of a lot of the woke rubbish that they're teaching. Yeah. Things like multimedia studies and looking at speeches that political activists make at the UN. That's not going to teach people how to write.
No. Claire Wyatt-Smith, who's an Australian Catholic University professor, said the teaching of writing is perhaps the biggest issue we face. We can use the word illiterate. And this point, she said they finish school and are unable to have the proficiency in writing they need for workplace engagement. Mark, what are we spending all this money on?
Well, it's hard to know. The Gonski rivers of gold, the more money they spend on education, the worse the results. And we've now found out in terms of writing skills, the system's gone backwards. So it's a sad reality. I suppose social media doesn't help, that young people are texting, they do the TikTok and other forms of social media, which, using their thumbs instead of their brains and their writing skills, that doesn't help. But it's all the more reason, Alan, why the schools have got to compensate.
I know.
If they're the social trends, the schools have got to do more to develop the writing skills instead of neglecting them.
Absolutely. I mean, mums and dads out there, more than 20% of year 9 students, 15-year-olds, couldn't write proper sentences. Only a quarter of them could use apostrophes or commas or colons correctly. And many students, and this is the problem, Mark, isn't it, who are then below the standard assumed in the curriculum, obviously then find lessons too hard, so it gets worse and worse.
Yeah, well, there's a basic saying in school education, Alan, if the students aren't learning, the teachers aren't teaching. And all those things you've mentioned obviously are not being taught in the classroom.
No.
The same with phonics, the sounding out of words, the basic literacy skills. If students can't sound out words, they're not being taught.
That's it.
Phonics in how to read. So the teachers have got to teach. And these are areas, unlike well-being and woke political content, genocidal theory of Australian history, Black Lives Matter, all this stuff, gender fluidity junk that's in the classroom, things that don't belong there. We do know what teachers can teach, and they can teach grammar. They can teach sentence structure, punctuation.